Hey, welcome back to The Dive. Our guest today will deep dive into a variety of different sectors. Some of the topics we will be discussing are Walmart's entry into the metaverse, Bitcoin's price, how true inflation numbers are, the approaching midterm elections, the future of precious metals, and why he believes we are in a paranoid and schizophrenic market. He has nearly 40 years with a successful career in the financial industry and is the founder and CEO of Bubba Trading. Todd Bubba Horwitz joins us today. But before we bring him on, just a quick reminder to smash that subscribe button for me, please. Hey, Bubba, welcome back to The Dive.
It's great to be back with you, Cassandra.
Yeah, it's so great to have you back. All right, so let's dive into it here. Walmart has recently made news as it prepares to launch its own cryptocurrency and a collection of NFTs, claiming it would meet consumers in the emerging metaverse, according to some reports. Do you think that they are actually making a real effort to enter the metaverse, or do you think this could just be to attract attention to the stock?
No, I think they're really. I think they're really trying to get involved. You know, this is a very, very big industry that is burgeoning on growth here. And, now that they've allowed more ETFs on the exchanges and more ways to trade them up front through regulators, you're already seeing that the crypto world, especially in the younger dynamics, is very, very big. And if Walmart wants to stay as the leader, then they're going to participate because that's what Facebook tried to do it a couple of years ago and they didn't get it done. So I think Walmart is definitely really researching it forever.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about general crypto here. Bitcoin didn't have the best start to the year, falling 12% in the first week of 2022. Do you believe that despite its rocky start, Bitcoin could reach new highs this year?
I do. I think that you have to remember you're trading in a thinner market. You're trading in a market that trades 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And you get news and it pops, and then you get the people that get nervous or want to take their profits and it sells off. I mean, if you look at the range, it's just trading in a wider range, but it always has. We just came off the all-time highs, and you're seeing a natural sell-off. I think somewhere around 40,000 will probably be the bottoms for now. But I mean, they could go lower, but that would be what I'd be looking for.
Mm-hmm. So have you been taking advantage of the dips at all?
Yeah, I mean, I don't buy a lot of Bitcoin because I like to buy more than a half or one, right? But I do. I've been involved for years on a small scale because, again, it's still a market that you want to be careful with because there are a lot of shylarks and things out there. But again, I do trade the cryptos every day at the CME. So I've been involved in the market, and I think the market is real. I think it's going to be a terrific market to be, and I think that's where we're going to end up because that is more the currency of the libertarian.
Mm-hmm. Okay, great. Let's take a look at inflation here. With CPI at 7%, the highest level since 1982, do you believe this number is accurate?
No, I think it's 20. I think it's, you can multiply it by 3. Everything that they tell you can multiply out. This is the biggest joke ever. Okay, you've got interest rates at nominally zero, even though they've been rising. Nominal rates are still below zero, negative. Okay, you've got crude oil at $86 or $87 a barrel and continuing to spike higher because we have a horrible energy policy and the administration is ridiculous because they think that this stuff is magically going to go away. The Fed cannot raise rates here more too quickly. They need to be at 5% to make it even, to make them like zero. But they can't because, of course, they have to worry about the United States debt service on top of it. So this inflation is a joke. And they also, don't forget, they exclude food and energy. And what is the thing we use more than anything? Food and energy. So this is going to be a much bigger problem and maybe the reason that these markets will melt down eventually.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so you're definitely not buying into that. What about the Fed monetary policy? Let's talk a bit more about that. Some argue that 3 to 4 rate hikes in 2022 may not be sufficient. How aggressive could the central bank be this year?
Well, actually, they're pricing in 4 now. Okay. And I will say this, the Federal Reserve is the only place you go in as a smart person, you end up a dummy. Okay. Because they don't have any clue on how the markets work or what makes the economy run. These rates should have been hiked years ago Okay. When the markets were flying higher, but they got used to and loved the easy monetary policy, which does not do anything for the economy. It just makes you think you have more, but just look at your expenses. I mean, that's what it comes down to. It is how much does your dollar buy today than what it bought years ago. So they're doing a horrible job. It is the biggest waste of time. And it is very much similar to what you heard about Jekyll Island, that they were there to kind of fleece people like central banks around the globe.
So what will happen if we get those rate hikes, though?
Well, listen, I think the market's in for a major hammering at some point anyways. The issue we'll have here is if interest rates do rise, then money is going to come flying out of the market because there are a lot of people that have been forced into equities because they're chasing yield, okay? And there's no place else to go. You know, again, if you're older, okay, and you're retired, you need to chase yield because you want to make sure you keep your core or your base money you saved all your life. And you can't put it in the bank because you can't make a living. So as rates go higher, banks will like it because they'll make a bigger spread, but the savers will love it because they'll be able to get out of the high risk of the market and put it into at least what they believe is a safer investment as a passbook. So that would be pretty damaging to the market if we can get interest rates going higher.
I was watching one of your daily market video updates, and you mentioned that we were in the paranoid and schizophrenic markets. Could you give us some color on this?
Yeah, well, I mean, you know, when you look at the markets, you know, we've been really kind of very volatile, which is typical for the beginning of the year. But we've been extra volatile, and you actually are now seeing a split in the trends of markets. The NASDAQ and the small caps are trending lower, while the Dow and the S&P are trending higher, which makes sense because they're safe. They're considered to be safer investment classes. But you have one day you've got them flying up, the next day you got them flying down, and you've got too much panic. And the investors that are playing are a little bit schizoid because they can't, you know, they don't know what to do. So one day they jump in, the next day they jump out, and that's what creates a lot more of this wild volatility. So I think this is here to stay until we finally see it break to the downside.
Well, the midterms are coming up in the US, and it's been said that Congress does not want the economy to fall before the midterm elections, and that it will do everything it can to keep people pleased and markets stable. Do you think that Biden will get his Build Back Better proposal through?
No, he's got no chance. That bill is a ridiculous. It's worse than the paper it's written on, and nobody's read it anyways. Okay, it's a horrible bill that nothing can be done. And all they're doing is destructing the United States economy because their agenda is more to get universal basic income. That's what they're trying to plot for. They're busting all the small businesses. They are making everything as challenging as possible. And I believe, I don't care what they do, this economy is not improving. And I think that it's going to be a wipeout at the November elections, because I think people, even the ones you would never suspect, are now turning because they can't take it anymore because they realize their spending power has gone to zero.
You mentioned the universal basic income, I think, every time I talk to you. Why do you think that they want that?
Well, I mean, it's a political ploy, because if you get universal basic income, it means that you're only going to vote for one party for the rest of your life, which would be the Democratic Party. You know, it's bad enough in this country that we only have two parties. You know, it's like Coke and Pepsi, but what about RC? You know, we have no other choice. So you have to vote. And we look what we have for leadership. I mean, a guy who's senile, okay. And listen, I like President Trump, but he was 75 years old too. I mean, you can't get the leadership because of what they're doing and how they're operating here. So you have a party that is so far progressive to the left. Now, the renaming of Chair Powell, as much as I don't care for him, was very powerful against the progressives. And some of the policies are, but nobody wants this Build Back Better America. You can't afford it, and it's not ready. You know, none of those projects are within 10 years of being shovel ready.
Interesting. It's crazy out there. Okay, so one more thing before we let you go here, Bubba. We have to ask about precious metals. What is your take on silver and gold for 2022?
Well, they're about to put me in an insane asylum because they won't make up their mind. They're kind of they're in a very tight range. Okay, you know, if you go back a year, silver only traded in about a 6% range for the year, or an 8% range. I mean, it was ridiculous. I'm a fan, okay? But again, remember, okay, if you're buying precious metals and you're buying physical metals, You're not buying them to trade them and sell them tomorrow or whatever. You're buying them to hold on to them. I don't know if it'll be this year, but look, they're going to go a lot higher at some point. And as you know, I'm always a buyer of precious metals, and I will trade the paper good stuff as a trader, either long or short. But from a long standpoint, I love gold, silver, and my favorite this year is platinum right now. So those are my choices.
Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your thoughts with us, Bubba. It's always fun to talk with you.
My pleasure, Cassandra. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for tuning in today. We'll be back again tomorrow with the latest news and updates, so be sure to stay tuned by hitting that notification bell and smashing subscribe.